is Tuesday, June 18th at 10 a.m. I'd like to call this meeting, this regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors together. This morning, Mr. Montague will be offering our prayer, and I would like us to all stand, and Melissa will lead us in the pledge, and we'll remain standing for the prayer.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we are thankful for this day, and we're thankful that the Board of Supervisors is able to meet. And we ask Thee to give them your Spirit to help them discern what is best for the county, that we will prosper. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Well, we get to wear a few different hats this morning, but our first item is item 2A, and it's a presentation of the University of Arizona's Gila County Cooperative Extension Office Annual Report and Fiscal Year 2024-2025 budget request to be considered for approval during Gila County's regular budget process. And this morning we have Renee Karstens with us, so welcome. Good to have you.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for having me. We've put together our annual report. This year we've designed it a little bit differently. We really wanted to inform the community and our constituents, go back to the basics of what are we doing here? What do we provide in the community? And so I'm going to give a little short summary of all of that as I kind of summarize this annual report. So let's see. So our story, we provide youth development, 4-H youth development. We have ag and natural resources. We also have a family consumer health science department that works with our community, as well as the FERTEP, which is the federally recognized tribal extension program. A couple years ago, we invested in some resources into really understanding what are the community needs in each community that we serve throughout the state of Arizona. So we started with an economic and functional impact analysis back in May of 2022. What we learned through that study is that for every dollar invested in extension, there's a $4 return directly into the Gila County community. It's broken down to each county. Our county is, for every dollar invested, $4 of impact are returned back into the community. So with that, the next step was doing a needs assessment, checking in, getting the pulse of the community again. What are the needs in the community? We may have known what the needs were 5 or 6 years ago, 10 years ago, but what are the current needs? Are they still the same? Do we need to expand? Do we need to provide different services and programs? And so the needs assessment took place in January of 2023, and currently the third phase of this step is the strategic plan, creating a strategic plan from the lessons that we've learned, from the research, from the information that we've gathered from our constituents. What exactly are the needs? How do we better serve this community? How do we expand our programming to meet these needs? And so a strategic plan has been developed by listening sessions, by rotating throughout the state and hearing from people all over the state of what extension should be providing and needs to be providing. And so we're expecting to have a rough draft, our first draft, in August, and then by the end of the year we should have a full draft of our strategic plan for the future. So nearest to my heart, that's why I'm starting with 4-H, is youth development, and so that is the program I'm the agent for, and I'm happy to say that we are continuing and sustaining many of our programs and expanding others. We currently had 212 kids participate in Club 4-H, but Club 4-H is just a teeny bit of the iceberg that we do in Gila County. We reached over 1,400 youth again this year in the classroom, in lessons, by providing services through a partnership with the NRCD and doing our Ag Days program, working with the libraries and putting together curriculum kits and then providing those lessons at the local libraries. We have a STEM trailer that provides hands-on learning with 3D printers and laser cutters, as well as taking those curriculum kits and loaning them out at no cost to our classroom teachers to provide hands-on learning opportunities for our classroom teachers as well. This past year, we had over 30-some volunteers who provided 3,652 hours of volunteering in the community. So 4-H youth development could not survive without the commitment of many, many volunteers who live here in the community and that provide and give back to the community by helping our youth and learn. Next one, our ag and natural resources. That's our master gardeners, our forest health, our rangeland monitoring, and our livestock production programs. We continually are reaching many of our constituents through, all the details are in the annual report, which I'm sorry if I'm summarizing too much, but so I just wanted to say that we reach many, the numbers are there in the annual report, but we reach many of our ranchers, many of our people who are interested in gardening, backyard gardening, home gardening, local gardenings, or gardens, community gardens as well. Let's see, sorry. Okay, so then our range line monitoring and our livestock production has been super successful. In fact, some of the ongoing research that has been provided has also increased opportunities for some of our ranchers to increase the allocation of number of animals that they can have on property based on the research of the land, of the rangeland monitoring. So it has been beneficial. Ashley Hall, who's our agent, not only educates those in the community and works with our ranchers, but she also goes into the classroom and teaches lessons to our younger generations that are going to be coming in. They understand why it's important to understand what our land provides and how to manage it and keep it so that it's productive and it's not overused and it's also staying beautiful for future generations to come. Our Family Consumer Health Sciences is a program which is a large program now that provides many opportunities with programs, classes to help build strong families, strong minds, and strong bodies. Extension works to empower individuals with knowledge and skills to make informed decisions regarding their health and their nutrition, food preparation and food safety, financial management, and child development. Our FERTEP program out in San Carlos is funded by a competitive grant, the NIFA grant, from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. They also provide the ag and natural resources, the family consumer health, and the youth development out in the San Carlos community. If you look at that picture, that structure that has a teepee on it, it's really cool. I just want to highlight that. It's actually a mobile, moving chicken coop, and so they have it set, it's secured, and then they move it throughout the property. So I thought that was really cool. And then they also have a strong archery program with the youth development program as well. So our funding, our chart of our funding here shows that we have most of our funding comes from competitive grants, and so it's soft money that we work very hard to maintain. We've been very successful because of the fact that we are meeting the goals and the needs and exceeding on many times of what the grant's asking us to do and what our community is saying that we need this funding for. And so with that, we have about 18.5 full-time employees, a total of, based on some are part-time and so forth, but it equals 18.5 FTEs that contribute to all of our activities in the Gila County community. Most of it is, like I said, grant funded. 4% is funded through, has been sustainable and has helped us through our county ask of $70,000, which we're hoping that we can get that continued support. We also acknowledge the fact that the county is very generous with the office space and utilities and the use of county facilities as well that help. That's the only way that Extension can survive throughout our nation, is this collaboration, this strong collaboration between the county and Extension, along with all the business partners and community partners that help support Extension as well. And I want to end with a highlight of last year we were able to send some youth to the national 4-H shooting competition. They were very successful. It is a program through the 4-H Cooperative Extension Program that has been extremely successful. We're actually expanding it even greater in the northern Gila County right now. We have 4 new onboarding volunteers who want to take on some leadership there, and lots of interest from our youth. And so I wanted to leave on a highlight of that we want to continue, we want to offer, and we want to expand and meet the needs in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. That's a great report. So Supervisor Humphrey.
No, I thank you for the report, but I thank you for all that you do and introducing new things as we go along to benefit the community. So thank you.
And Supervisor Klein.
Renee, thank you and your team for putting all this together. This is good. You know, when you look at the 4-H clubs, when you look at the different 4-H clubs, it's very important to Gila County. It has been for the life of Gila County, basically. But then you throw in the natural resource part of it with Ashley and her reading the range portion of that. Huge must for Gila County. That program alone was the only thing that kept our cattle on the grounds in Gila County. And Dr. Sprinkle put that together in, 2000, 2001. And having Ashley involved and probably Molly someday, why we can hopefully look forward to seeing that program continue, because that is the only thing that keeps them out there, is that program. And it's been a big plus. And hopefully everything is working out good now with space and everything for you guys. We're good.
Yep.
Money-wise, we give you the $70,000 on my behalf. I look forward to continue doing that. So thank you all for everything you do. Thank you, Molly. And it's a good job.
Well, thank you for your time and your continued support. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Renee. I was going to ask a question real quick. So
Yes.
since this is part of the U of A, does the U of A give money to the extension, or how are they a partner?
Well, we are federally and state funded, and across the United States, there are land grant universities that are designated through the USDA and underneath the Smith-Lever Act. And so universities are designated, and back in 1914, I believe, the University of Arizona was designated as the land grant university, with the purpose of taking the knowledge that we have at a campus, the research-based, evidence-based research and learning, and taking it out into the community. That's the purpose of Extension, is to, we know that everybody can't come to university. We know that there's knowledge there. There's evidence-based practices that if we can share that with the community, our goal is to better the community with the information and the trainings and the knowledge that we share with the community, so that they gain the knowledge and the skills.
Okay, great. Thank you.
One more thing, Renee. You know, back in time, I think it was Terry Wheeler that started that program with our mines and the tailings. Wasn't that done through the co-op extension and U of A? I thought it was.
I can't give you an honest answer because I
Yeah,
don't know, so I don't want to.
Molly's nodding her head, so I think it was. And so that was a huge plus for our local area as well. You know, I remember as a kid, Joe, you probably do too. You know, the winds would blow and everything had turned to dirt around here. So, you know, that was a big plus.
Thank you,
And
Supervisor.
as things change, we need to be on top of it. We need to be one step ahead to help educate and to problem solve. And that's what we hope to do and continue to do in Gila County as well.
Mr. Menlo.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I wanted to express appreciation to Ms. Karstens for all that they do. As you know, we've had the Board of Supervisors, when you all came on board, you said we need policies to guide and direct the county, and we've done a lot of those. And then we've had audit findings and different things that kind of, we're going through some growing pains with the cooperative extension, but I want to express appreciation to Ms. Karstens and the whole U of A cooperative extension team for working with us, helping us to make sure we've got everything in line. And thank you for your report. That's an Auditor General requirement, and also it tells a story of the great and good things that you're doing in Gila County. Wanted to acknowledge, as you did, Supervisor Klein, Molly Mae Griffin, that a great story of the U of A Cooperative Extension. She went through that and participated in all that as a youth growing up here in the community, and then went away, got her education, and has come back and is contributing to this region and to this area. And express appreciation to you, Molly Mae, and as a great example to the youth and the success you can have, and then contributing to the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manlove, and I too would concur with Supervisor Klein that I would be in full support of continuing our support. Did you want to say anything, Supervisor Humphrey?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Very good. Let's move on to item 3A, a regular agenda item. I'll seek a motion to recess as the Gila County Board of Supervisors and convene as the Gila County Library District Board of Directors.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Information, discussion, action to adopt the fiscal year 2024-25 tentative budget for the Gila County Library District. And who is presenting? We have Elaine and we have Marin.
So Elaine is in Payson this morning, and I'm here in case she needs me to pull the items up on the board, and I'm happy to present. Or Elaine is welcome to, whichever works better.
Marin, since you're there, go ahead.
Okay. So this morning, we would like to present the Gila County Library District budget. Is it attached? Thank you. The Library District proposes keeping its tax rate flat at 24.25 cents, which would make this year's primary property tax, or I'm sorry, secondary property tax for the Library District $1,613,671, and that would be throughout Gila County. And then Cassie, if you can go to the second attachment, please. Yes, please. Thank you. And then the entire Library District expenditure budget, including the Library District assistance, the Library District grants, and the E-rate program is $2,789,627. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, thank you, Marin. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions.
Okay, Supervisor Klein.
Looks good, Marin. So we're holding it flat, so that's
Yeah.
good.
And
Thank
we'll
you.
be back for the Truth and Taxation hearings also.
Oh, okay.
Right, that'll be a separate agenda item for you.
Okay.
Thank you, Marin. I have no questions. So with that, I will call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to adopt the fiscal 24-25 10D budget for Gila County Library District in the amount of $2,789,627 as presented.
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. And I will now seek a motion to adjourn as the Gila County Library District Board of Directors and convene as the Gila County Flood Control District Board of Directors.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I'll second that.
Movement and a second to do that. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Item 3B, information, discussion, action to adopt the fiscal year 2024-25 tentative budget for the Gila County Flood Control District. Marin?
Would you mind putting the attachment up? So each year we bring the Flood Control District budget to the Board of Supervisors so that you are aware that the Board of Supervisors has the capacity to levy a tax for this district. Historically, and including this year, you have chosen not to. The requested budget for 2025 for the Flood Control District for the operating budget is $275,884, and they are requesting capital capacity of $400,000, which includes $300,000 in projects and $100,000 in rain gauges and rain gauge maintenance, for a total flood control district budget request of 2025 of $675,884.
Thank you, Marin. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein?
So the 400,000 is made up of the 300,000 in projects and the 100,000 in rain gauges, correct?
Yes.
Are the, and I don't know if you know the answer to this question, Marin, but maybe James does. Are those rain gauges what we established on the canals after the fires?
Some of them, yes. This would be for the annual maintenance for all the rain gauges countywide so that they get replaced on a regular ongoing basis. Typically, this line item was in the regular budget, and Public Works asked that we show it here this year so that you have this level of detail available to you and so that you can clearly show it to the constituents without
Sure.
having to dig for it.
Sure. And then, James, on the 300,000 in projects, do you have any idea what those projects entail?
That's an amount set aside.
This is a set-aside amount for projects that the three of you and Public Works collaboratively will prioritize throughout the year, right? So we don't have a specific list of projects now that we're asking you to
Okay.
approve. We're asking you to approve this capacity, so later in the year, as projects come up, when Homero and his team bring them to you, he'll be able to point to this and say, you set aside this money in June, and this is what we would like to start using it on, and then get your collaborative input on that, so that we're all working together for the best of the county.
I can agree with that, so thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
members of the board, Supervisor Klein, please note that this doesn't include money that's like for Campaign Creek, that there's $3 million that's been set aside that we received for Campaign Creek, and also looking for FEMA dollars, a couple $1 million there for the flood related to the Woodbury fire. That so there's a lot of other projects that we have for flooding that are related there in other buckets because they're grant dollars.
So, question to that, James, when like that, those grant monies come up through FEMA, you say, or that's what you're hoping?
There's some money from FEMA and there's some money from the state.
So are we gonna show that as going through the flood district? Or is it just gonna be in our general budget?
That shows separately under capital. We have $3 million that has come through from DEMA that will be used as matching funds to achieve the FEMA dollars goals. Those have been historically reported in capital, so we're going to continue to report them there so that there's not a big fluctuation. But that would be separate from this. This
Okay.
would just be the flood control district operating in capital, whereas those are larger capital
Sure.
projects
Sure.
with designated funding. Those dollar amounts also notably, because they are grant sources from state and federal, are excludable from your expenditure limit, whereas these dollars are not.
And that's in case we don't get them, right?
That's just because the way the expenditure limit was set up, that we can exclude funds that come from outside of our tax base.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Marin. So the 400,000, or 300 to 400,000 is typically what we've been spending all along. It just shows up in this report where in the past it has not.
Right, we've marked it in the past for these projects, but this way it's more out there for you and the constituents to be aware of, so that it's just common knowledge instead of having to be something you have to call our office to find out.
Right. It's not new spending, I guess
No,
is
it's
my
just,
point.
it's improved transparency.
Okay. Thank you, Marin.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'll point out that since there is no tax for this, these are, this $175 comes from a transfer from the general fund. So it's general fund dollars, has been, and will continue to be so.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. So I will ask for motion on item 3B.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to adopt the fiscal year 24-25 tentative budget for the Gila County Flood Control District in the amount of $675,884 as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Okay, a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, Marin.
Thank
And
you.
I will now ask for a motion to adjourn as the Gila County Flood Control District Board of Directors and convene as the Gila County Street Lighting Improvement District's Board of Director.
So move, Mr. Chair.
I'll second that.
Move in a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Item 3C, information, discussion, action to adopt the fiscal year 2024-25 tentative budgets for the Gila County Street Lighting Improvement District per the fiscal year 2025 budget schedules entitled Street Lighting Improvement Districts. Mary.
Good morning. As you're aware, there are 7 street lighting improvement districts in Gila County.
Mhm.
Pine, East Verde, Miami Gardens, Apache Hills, Upper Glendale, Midland City, Central Heights, and Claypool. Each of those has its own dedicated APS service, and the tax that Gila County levies each year is simply to cover the APS bills for those districts. We don't charge any administrative costs or anything like that. So this budget will allow us to collect that money for next year and to continue to pay those APS bills. The tax rate itself will be adopted on the 19th of August when we adopt the other tax rates.
Thank you, Maren. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no question.
Supervisor Klein.
I'm good, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Maren. Why is the amount going down?
On some of them, we have collected a little extra this year, and on some of them, the usage is less than expected.
Okay, that's nice to see. Thank you, Maren. If there's nothing else, then I will call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to adopt the 24-25 following Gila County street lighting improvement districts. Pine, $2,075. Apache Hills, $3,750. Upper Glendale, Central Heights, $3,220. East Verde
That's
Park.
last year's.
Huh?
Are those the right amounts?
I hope they're right amounts. I was on Verde Park at 5,221. Okay, we'll take one out of the book, the other book of this.
I apologize.
Okay, Sam. Oh, no problem. Pine, 1,790. East Verde, 5,591. Miami Gardens, 3,512. Apache Hills, 2,910. Upper Glendale, 1,744. Midland City, Central Heights, 16,884, and Claypool, 26,071. There you go.
Sure, I'll second that.
Motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Okay, I will now call for a motion to adjourn as the Gila County Street Lighting Improvement District Board of Directors and reconvene as the Gila County Board of Supervisors.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item 3D, information discussion action to adopt fiscal year 2024-25 Gila County tentative budget, authorizing the publication of the summary budget and set the public hearing for July 16th, 2024 to adopt the final 24-25 Gila County budget. Maren.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Supervisor Klein, Supervisor Humphrey. This morning we have brought you our 2025 tentative budget for your adoption, which will set the expenditure ceiling for the 2025 fiscal year. Today's presentation and dollar amount includes capacity for the University of Arizona Cooperative Extension, which you already heard from this morning, capital projects to be prioritized by the Board of Supervisors in collaboration with staff, fulfilling commitments to our ARPA projects, utilizing the LATCF funding, salary capacity to retain and recruit talented staff dedicated to public service, not to exceed $1.2 million in the general fund, continuing our Clean and Lean program in the amount of $100,000 next year, providing employee educational assistance, achieving deferred maintenance goals, and ensuring effective debt service with pledged revenue. Notably, the economic conditions this year are slightly more favorable than they were last year. Prime rate is up about 0.25% from a year ago, and we do have an additional about $1.5 million in our expenditure limitation. So with that, I'll walk you through this morning's presentation. We tried not to bog it down with too many numbers so that it would be accessible to everyone who wants to read it. So our priorities in 2025 are stewardship, compliance, and transparency. Those are your ongoing priorities as our Board of Supervisors. So we wanted to make sure that we upheld those in every transaction that we show here today. We wanted to point out both to you and to our constituents that our primary property tax, the rate for which has been flat since 2010. Our primary property tax makes up 27% of the revenue in the Gila County budget. The other revenues make up the remaining 73%. Our 4.19 primary property tax rate has been consistent for 15 years now. The net assessed values in Gila County for 2025 are $665 million, which would, at the 4.19 rate, render a primary property tax levy of $27.8 million, up $1.2 million from the year before. Our expenditure limit, as set by the Economic Estimates Commission here in the state of Arizona, is $51,593,200. Under the guidance of the Auditor General's Office, we do have a carry forward from prior years that gives us additional expenditure limit capacity of $7.7 million. Your ongoing investment priorities carrying over from prior years are employees, technology, infrastructure, and public safety. Those will be continued in 2025 with individual projects to be prioritized by the Board of Supervisors in collaboration with staff. In 2024, our capital investment total is $11.95 million. That is comprised of $6.5 million expended and another $5.4 million that's encumbered. So we've left capacity in the 2025 budget that if all those encumbrances aren't spent in the next 2 weeks, that the capacity will still be there next year for you. So all those projects can continue. And then we're providing this for you and for our constituents. This shows where the capital investment funding is coming from. This doesn't show up as well on the board as I would like it to, but you've got about 36% coming from your American Rescue Plan Act, that's sometimes referred to as SLRF, which is the State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund. You have 26% coming from the Capital Fund, 29% coming from other special revenue funds, and then you've got smaller percentages coming from the Public Works Fund, Sheriff's Special Revenues, and Highway Cleanup. We have Schedule A. This is what we will publish in the newspaper for all of our constituents to see. This sets our 2025 expenditure at $146,774,151, which allows for $51,593,295 subject to the the Economic Estimates Commission expenditure limitation. And then following that, we have Schedule B, which shows our expected tax levies and tax rate information. This information is included in your budget packet and is separately adopted on the 19th of August, which is the third Monday of August annually. This shows that you will have a flat primary property tax rate of $4.19, a flat Gila County Library District tax of 24.25 cents. The FDAT tax is also flat at 10 cents and no flood control district tax. This also shows that your SLID tax rates are all flat for next year. And the dollar amounts you saw earlier for the SLID agenda item reflect the net assessed values in those areas. In summary, our 2025 priorities are stewardship, compliance, and transparency. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Mayor. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein.
Well, I do. So I'm not gonna bog everybody down with as many as
Michelle,
I
I
think
put
I
the-
could have.
There's your question slide, just for Supervisor Klein.
You're good, Marin, you can answer all these questions anyway. But when we talk about priorities, we talk about our employees. And James, so we have an adjustment in our wages figured into this budget, right?
Mr. Chairman and Supervisor Klein, yes, we do. Proposed similar to last year that we will do potentially up to 5% if you approve it. What that would consist of is a 3% in the month of July with a minimum of a $1 increase.
I believe so.
Or $2,080 increase for all employees. So that $2,080 minimum increase for all employees, a $1 per hour increase for all employees, increases roughly 2/3 of all of our employees, making sure that there is a minimum so that those employees that their salaries are less, that they are able to meet the adjustments for inflation. What that means is that if all employees were given a 3% salary increase, there are some employees that are getting up to nearly 6.7% increase. And so that benefits those that may be impacted more heavily by inflation factors that we have. And again, looking to another 2% that we can use for January that would be given to employees for merit increases, that those through an analysis and performance evaluations, that we can, those employees that are doing extraordinary work can be rewarded in some ways. There's also some compression issues, and so 2% that will be given to departments and elected offices to address employee and individual as an individual need basis. So that's the increase that Marin had spoken of, 1.2 million maximum for the general fund, which is the amount that's tied to the property tax increase.
And
So, go
it's
ahead,
my
Marin.
understanding we were going to bring that as a separate agenda item, subsequent to tentative budget adoption, so that you can
that.
see that separately. So
Okay.
that'll be, my understanding was that it was going to be either at our July 2nd or July 16th meeting.
So with what's proposed in this budget, how close is that gonna be to making up for inflation? Are we gonna get ahead of it with this, or are we still gonna be behind?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Klein, inflation for Social Security, CPI, and different indices throughout the country is 3.2% for the calendar year 2023. And so we're proposing a 3% cost of living, a little bit short, then an extra 2% so that departments can address pay for performance issues. So yes, it's more than addressing inflation and catching up just a little bit for the years that we've been behind, because there were several years we did nothing for our employees. We're not able to give any salary adjustments at all.
Right, so this will bring us up pretty close,
It gets us closer.
or closer.
And it more than covers any increase that we experienced with the health insurance rates that you adopted back in April.
Okay,
So it leaves employees with still receiving more take-home pay subsequent to that.
other question for you, Marin, on capital investments, we
Mhm.
have that 5,447,000 there, is that our LATCF fund?
The 5,447,000 is those are purchases that we've made that we haven't paid for yet because the
Okay.
projects are in process. The LATCF funds are 6.1 million that are set aside and ready for you all to use when you are ready to identify those projects. And it's my understanding that we will be bringing you a work session item next Tuesday for your input, feedback, and suggestions so that we can move forward with utilizing that money if you deem necessary.
Good deal. One more thing that I had that I'd been made aware of is that we have some extra money in this budget, maybe to address our blight situation in Gila County. You care to elaborate on that?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Klein, yes, it's $100,000, I believe. 100,000? Yeah, it's
There's
100,000
100,000 for clean and lean.
clean and lean that we've included and in conjunction with the sheriff's office and what they've been doing in cleaning up different properties. We've allocated some dollars so it can actually carry out some efforts to clean and lean.
So I'm confused, because I understand the Clean and Lean had some money, which we very seldom use, but I thought this was through the health department.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. So this particular program, working with Mr. Menlove, we have multiple departments being involved in this strategy going forward. We have the health department, we have community services, as well as the landfill department. So it's labeled Clean and Lean, and there may be a project out there that we do a cleanup, that we do put the lien on the property if we're able to legally, with the county attorney's advice, because many of these properties don't have an owner. So, but if we go ahead through the health department and use the public health nuisance laws, Title 36 laws, it will be cleaned up through the public health rules and regulations, and then we wouldn't put a lien on that particular property.
So the way I understand it is this is a possibility we can address some of these situations that we have in Gila County. And so this is more going to be towards like a pilot program or something to see how it works?
We're going to expand what we've been doing, and through, as Michael said, through the health laws, environmental, that we can address it better. And there's the dollars there because, as Michael said, that some of them we can't lien a property, and so we just need to get them cleaned up, and we'll do that.
And if I may expand on our conversation, we have one successful project this year, and this week we should have the second successful cleanup of the properties down here. And we have pictures, and we're working with, to provide some information to the Board of Supervisors once we get that done. So the first project went very nicely, and when you determine that a property is a public health nuisance, to use this money to clean it up with, it has to literally, when you walk onto a property, be a danger to the surrounding residents. And some of the properties we're looking at cleaning up are homes with open cesspools that have been burned down, that have multiple structures on there that have been caved in, and they don't have any property owners.
So we have many areas that this is an issue, and so for the county to be looking at a route this, going this way, I think is a benefit to the county. By all means, I mean, we could throw as much money as we wanted to towards this issue, but we don't have it. So to start with something like this and be able to work with these places, it would be a good start. I'm glad it's in there for the county. That's a good leg. So, thank you. That's all I got.
Thank you. So, Michael, before you sit down, you might, I have a question. Okay, so I've had some conversations with the Forest Service, and we have a situation in our forest with abandoned trailers, RVs, situation, and it's possible that Homero might bring before the board some kind of a partnership idea about taking care of these properties, cooperating with the Forest Service, the Sheriff's Department, etc. Would this money be then available for that kind of thing as well?
This is a completely separate pot of money, what we're talking about for the trailers on the U.S. Forest Service. However, this pot of money is available if, in discussions with the county manager, if a project on the Forest Service comes to our attention that possibly may need funding, we have funding for that in this line item, certainly with the conversations.
So it's flexible. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's all I have. Let's see where we're at here. So,
Mr. Chairman, while you're looking at that, can I make, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, want to stress that this is putting together a tentative budget. Maren and her staff has been working on this for months, and it's been dialogues and communication with departments, elected officials, and throughout the county of determining what our needs are and being able to try to address those. This is not something that's built in a capsule There's not been any discussions. It's been open discussions. This tentative budget, what it does is it establishes a maximum of what the county budget can be. Over the next month, as there's additional information that might be received, so I know that Marin will shudder if I say it too loudly, that adjustments and changes can be made. In fact, it can be completely turned upside down and moved all around. Yeah, she's about to throw things.
No, I'm
But
still
this-
too jet lagged to throw things.
But this has been a month's worth of open conversation, discussions, and we want this to, as Marin said, be as transparent as possible. If the public have any questions, they can certainly come, request information on the budget. They can come and talk to Marin, look at the details about what is included in the budget. So it's all, everything that we do is open and available to the public. And want to make sure that is stressed and that it is an open process. And it's not done behind closed doors. It's done in the open. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
So go ahead and answer your phone, James. On top of that, what I would say is there's so many people out there that don't realize they can go into your department, pull up the budgets, and look at all of our budget from 24 all the way to 2008. And so, quite honestly, that's been a big topic of discussion campaigning this year, is the budgets and the money. I mean, they look at $146 million and they're like, wow, you guys were only a little over 100 million last year. Where'd all this money come from? And so a lot of people, you know, in my rounds, and I'm sure the sheriff and Tim and everybody that's running for office has had these questions, but most people don't realize that takes in the grant monies, the special monies, all of that. And where we have just completed for a county project, that Tunnel Creek Bridge, that was $27 million, you know, so it all gets shown through that. And so thank you for that, because there's a lot of people, and I hope they're listening today on YouTube, that now realize they can go into Marin's department finances and pull all of that up, including the audits.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Klein, we are required by state law to budget for every dollar that we have, whether we fully intend to spend it, because we're at 147 million, we are not going to spend that much money, because there's projects that go over multiple years, and that, but we are required by state law to budget for all contingencies, for all possibilities that there might be. And so it looks like a big amount, but that's because we are required to budget that way by state law.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Marin. This has got to be one of the hardest projects, really, that we do as a county, to put together a budget every year. And so thank you, and thanks to everyone involved in the process.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you for your presentation, and with that, I will call for a motion on item 3D.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to adopt the 24-25 Gila County tentative budget in the amount of $146,774,151, and authorize the publication of the summary budget and set the public hearing date for July 16th, 2024 to adopt the final 24-25 Gila County budget.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Motion and a second to approve the tentative budget. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, Marin.
Thank you.
Great job. Item 3E, information, discussion, action to authorize the Treasurer's Office to abate taxes, interest, and fees on 61 properties and authorize the Chairman's 61 signatures on each of the related certificates of removal and abatement of tax and certificates of clearance.
Very good, thank you.
Monica, how are you?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Klein, Supervisor Humphrey. So this morning, I'm doing a lot of cleanup. And so this morning, I'm presenting 61 certificates of clearance to declare the taxes uncollectible on personal property. In this case, of personal property are mobile homes, trailers, manufactured homes, and these are all in mobile parks throughout southern Gila County for now. These mobile homes are either been demolished or they've been removed from the park, and this has been verified by a sheriff deputy and the assessor's office. And when the sheriff would go out and they don't find a home in that spot, sometimes we have information that it's been moved or demolished, or if they're just gone in the middle of the night, they're just gone. And these taxes, some of them are from 2008 or 2010 moving forward, and they would be on the tax rolls just for 1 year, and then they've been deactivated. So currently they're on my tax roll, and I would like to clear them up. And this falls under ARS 42-19118. And in order to do so, this is a procedure. So I have to present this, give you certificates, and the current chairman would have to sign off of them to get them cleared. And that's what I'm presenting today.
Thank you, Treasurer. Supervisor Humphrey.
Yeah, I have no question, just, I've had a lot of difficulties with things like this in the past, because like people will take a mobile home and put it on a piece of land, and they pay their taxes on the piece of land, but not the home, but you don't have permission to go on the land to get the home. And so, yeah, it would be nice at some point in time, if these were connected with the property that they're on, so it's all combined as one, as a home is.
I agree.
But yeah, so I understand your frustration, because I've been in several discussions with this in the past, trying to figure out what to do. So thank you for working with that. And like I say, in the future, I would still like to see that if someone purchases a mobile home, that it is tied to the property in the tax deal, so that it includes both of them, like a home does.
I agree. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
sir.
Supervisor Klein.
Monica, thanks for cleaning up those rolls. And it looks like you're gonna have writer's cramps before today's done.
Yep.
So, thank you, Monica.
Thank you, sirs.
Yeah, thank you, Monica. So clarify for me, what we're abating is not the real estate, but the trailer or,
The taxes on the trailer, correct?
yes. So the real estate still gets taxed.
Yes, but all these homes are on a park, so there's no real estate taxes involved. Most of these are in Pueblo
Well,
Heights or
the owner of
Little
the
Acres.
park will be paying the real estate
Yes,
taxes.
correct.
Okay, all right. So I think that's important to know. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 3E, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to authorize the Treasurer's Office to abate the taxes, interest, and fees on 61 properties, and authorize the chairman's signature on each of the related certificates of removal and abandonment of taxes and certificates of clearance.
And Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Okay, a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you,
Monica.
sirs.
Item 3F, information discussion action to approve contract agreement number CTR 050476 with United Fire Equipment Company in the amount of $60,029.60 for the purchase of a compressor with grant funds from the Arizona Treasurer, which would allow the dive team to maintain the equipment needed to use in search and rescue missions and dive training. We have the Sheriff's Department here. Sarah?
Yes, how are you? Good morning. I'm Sheriff Shepard. For if there's any technical questions. He was also part of the dive team at one part in his career. So I'm grateful to be before you. This has been a project that the Sheriff's Office has been working on for years. It is a compressor so that our dive team can fill up the tanks for their breathable air. It is completely grant funded, so there will be no general fund used for it. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Sarah. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein.
Sheriff, what did you do before to fill those tanks? Where did you have to take them?
Well, we had a compressor for years. The parts became unavailable,
Okay.
and so it's just, things wear out,
Yeah.
and that particular one wasn't fixable. So what we're doing right now is we're hauling them, I think, to the valley to a shop to be filled, which is obviously difficult. We need to get back to be able to do it ourselves.
Sure. No, I understand that. Good deal.
Thank you, and I have no questions, so with that, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve contract agreement number CTR 050476 with United Fire Equipment Company as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you very much. Item 3G, information discussion action to authorize the board chairman to electronically sign the drug, gang, and violent crime control grant agreement for fiscal year 2025, award grant number DC-25-004 between the Gila County Sheriff's Office and the Arizona Criminal Justice Commission in the amount of $331,654 to provide continued funding for the period of July 1, 24 to June 30, 25, and authorize signature on the certifications and assurances. Travis?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. On behalf of Sheriff Shepard, we submitted this grant back in March to the Arizona Criminal Justice Commission for our annual Drug, Gang, and Violent Crimes Task Force grant. We were notified on May 30th that we had been approved for the $331,654. It's a very valuable process, very valuable grant that we received that is a very huge functional group of dedicated individuals from the Sheriff's Office and the Gila Police Department as of right now in fighting the problems that we have in our community involving drugs, gangs, and violent crimes. So on behalf of Sheriff Shepard, we're requesting that you guys authorize the grant application and the award of this amount of money.
Thank you for that presentation. Supervisor Humphrey.
Mr. Chair, I have no questions.
Thank you. Supervisor Klein.
Travis, this is about the same amount of money you always get, isn't it?
We always ask for the moon,
And they don't give it to you.
no, we settle for what we can get.
Well, thanks for keep trying, so, good.
Yeah, thank you. It's a very needed thing. So with that, I'll call for motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to authorize the board chairman to electronically sign the Arizona Criminal Justice Commission Drug, Gang, and Violent Crime Control Grant Agreement FY 2025, award grant number DC-25-004, and authorize the signature on the certification and assurances.
And Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. All right, we have another item with the Sheriff's Department, 3H, information discussion action to review the bids submitted for invitation for bids, IFB number 030724, otherwise known as the purchase of AR-15 rifles, award to the lowest, most responsive and responsible and qualified bidder, and authorize the chairman's signature on the contract. White.
Hi, good morning, Chairman, members of the board. If you recall, back in April, we came to you for a authorization to advertise for bids. With this, we received 10 bids. The Sheriff's Office came together with some firearms instructors and reviewed all 10. Bushmaster came back not only the lowest bid, but also will work with us on time frame and building of the rifle. So we are requesting that the chairman sign the bid for Bushmaster.
Thank you,
Any
Sarah.
questions?
I came up in case you asked for what AR means again.
No, I learned.
What does AR mean?
We've been rehearsing.
It doesn't stand for assault rifle. What's
No,
it?
it doesn't.
Yeah.
Arma light rifle. I got schooled when I
Yeah,
got back to
very
the
good.
sheriff's office.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
All right. Supervisor Humphrey.
Well, with that answered, I have no questions. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
We had an hour and a half to rehearse.
Seriously. Yeah, I have to go out to the range now and qualify. I'm like, thank you.
Supervisor Klein.
So when is that date to go out on the range if you qualify? That's I didn't care about what the AR standard for. Let's go shoot them.
We'll let you know.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff.
So, yeah, and if anyone's listening that doesn't understand this, these are not fully automatic firearms.
They are.
They are.
Yes, we are ordering them that
Okay.
way. They'll be delivered to the guys as semis until they've received the training. Right now, they're trained up, most of them are trained up to semi-automatic level.
Okay. And so then will you be deploying these as fully automatic?
Once they have the training for it, yes.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to have to buy a lot of
Like,
bullets.
for instance, we already have a few that have the training. I military one myself.
Yeah, okay.
And so, it's just that, it's until we get them up to speed on it, because there's a little bit different technique,
Yeah.
then they'll be upgraded.
Interesting. So, and the only reason you're able to do that is because of special licensing and that you're a law enforcement?
Military and law enforcement are
Okay.
approved by the
All right.
president.
And the money comes from where?
So this is coming from the general fund. We've worked with finance this last year to get this approved to standardize the weapons. So this will come from the patrol general fund budget.
Okay. If there's nothing else, then I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to award a contract to Bushmaster Firearms Industries Incorporated in the amount of $115,512.10 in response to invitation for bids number 030724 and authorize the chairman's signature on the award contract.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Item 3I, information discussion action to approve grant agreement number ADOA-AZ911-25-5 between the Arizona, excuse me, the Arizona Department of Administration, Arizona 911 Program, and the Gila County Sheriff's Office for the performance period of July 1/24 through June 2025. And we have Deborah Williams.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. This item is the result of the item you approved in April to allow me to submit a grant application. The minimum that I was planning on submitting was $141,732, which is our operating fund, our base operating fund for the 911, next gen 911 infrastructure. What I did not have at that time was the information for projects that would be requested. Payson PD did submit several projects, and for the SO, I submitted one project. And in the end, Payson PD was awarded their upgrade to their 911 recorder, and we were awarded an additional seat 911 position to be installed, and we were also awarded the monthly recurring charges to support that position. So we are now up to 4 positions in our dispatch center. And that brought our award amount to $222,634.
Okay. Thank you. Supervisor Humphrey.
Questions?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Supervisor Klein.
Good job, Deborah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and good job. I have no questions. With that, I'll call for motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve Arizona Department of Administration Grant Agreement Number AD0A-AZ911-25-25 as presented.
And I'll second that.
Motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Got one more for you. We have 3J, information discussion action to approve fiscal year 2025 intergovernmental agreement between Town of Payson and Gila County for centralized management of 911 grant funds for the performance period of July 1, 2024 and June 30, 2025.
Okay. This item is the annual renewal of the IGA between Gila County and the Town of Payson. Gila County Sheriff's Office is the administrator for the 911, the Gila 911 network, which includes both Sheriff's Office and PSAPs.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein.
Neither do I.
Okay, thank you. I don't, and so with that, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve this fiscal year 25 intergovernmental agreement with the Town of Payson for centralized management of 911 grant funds as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
A motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you very much. Item 3K, information, discussion, action to authorize the chairman's signature on documentation to submit to the U.S. Department of Agriculture for the congressionally directed spending allocation for the Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat. Maren.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Supervisor Klein, Supervisor Humphrey. This agenda item pertains to the congressionally directed spending that Gila County was awarded through Senator Mark Kelly's CDS allocation for the current fiscal year. In order for us to receive this $333,000, we needed to complete some paperwork. So we brought that paperwork to you today. We're just asking for your signature on the relevant documents. The rest of the 3/4 of an inch of paper will just get run through finance, but we wanted to make sure that we got your signature on the applicable spots. And then once we get this submitted, we will be able to get that $333,000. We do have a 25% match required on this, and we do have that money budgeted in the 24 budget and the capacity for it in the 25 budget, since this won't get done in the next 18 days.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm glad it finally worked out. So appreciate it.
So, Marin, I'm unfamiliar with what we're spending the money on. It says additional housing.
Yes, it's for
Is there a
ADA compliant housing. We
okay.
applied for enough to make 3 buildings. We were granted enough to make 1. So we will continue to seek additional funds to facilitate those other 2 buildings.
Is this a new build or?
It is.
It'll be a new ADA compliant housing unit there for the veterans who will be using the facility.
Mr. Chair, if I may, James, this was on the earmark money, right, from Senator Kelly that we
Yeah.
applied for?
Yes.
Yeah.
Congressionally directed spending.
Yeah, that's it. So, and it is for a new ADA, total ADA building,
Yes.
not just partial, but
Mr. Chairman?
Like a single-family residence sort of building.
probably 2-bedroom.
It'll be like more like a barracks. So it'll have the doors that are correctly sized for accessibility, walk-in showers, and those kinds of things, so that there aren't obstacles to access. And all of the kitchen areas and things like that will be set up so that they are accessible to any person with any level of ability.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Senator Kelly, for that. So with that, I will call for motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to authorize the chairman's signature on documentation to submit to the U.S. Department of Agriculture for the congressional directed spending allocation for the Pleasant Valley Veterans Retreat.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
And we have a motion to approve in a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Marin. Are you
Thank
done for the day?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, thank you. Item 3L, information discussion action to approve amendment number 1 to contract agreement number CTR 061839-EZ with Skyline Builders and Restoration Incorporated for the Sheriff's Squadron Patrol Room Renovation Project in the amount of $81,593.46. Joseph Dickinson.
Good morning, Chairman, Board of Supervisors. Payson Sheriff's Office has undergone a series of meticulous evaluations and feasibility studies over the years. The primary goal was to optimize the facility while upgrading and modernizing critical infrastructure such as electrical, mechanical, plumbing, and communications. The team put in a lot of effort to identify and prioritize the most critical areas that required attention. However, during the feasibility review, it became evident that a complete overhaul of the facility would be too expensive, while still leaving the facility unable to support the growth of the Sheriff's Office operations. Despite this, the team remained focused and identified several opportunities to selectively move forward with a project that was less demanding but offered high yields. The selected capital project aims to support the renovation of an old Gila County courtroom located within the SO facility and transition into a sheriff's operational space for patrol personnel, which will serve as a vital hub for coordinating law enforcement activities in the region. The existing room lacks several essential features, including adequate lighting, office space, and communication infrastructure, which would hinder law enforcement operations effectiveness as they transition the space to support patrol personnel. The project scope includes several necessary upgrades, such as installing new flooring, painting, ceiling tiles, electrical work, communication upgrades, office addition, and lighting installation. These upgrades will significantly improve the functionality and safety of the patrol room, making it more conducive to efficient law enforcement operations. The Facilities and Land Management Department recommends that the Board of Supervisors approve amendment number 1 to contract agreement number CTR 061839AZ with Skyline Builders and Restoration, Inc. for the Sheriff Squadron Patrol Room renovation project in the amount of $81,593.46. The planned and budgeted capital project will be funded from the general funds capital outlay. With that, I would be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Joseph. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein.
Joseph, is this a local contractor?
This is not a local contractor. This is a state contractor. We've already had some really good conversations with the state contractor. We can't go too far with them because there's no contract yet, but we've outlined a couple of local contractors that will be partnering with them.
That they'll sub out to?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks. And so are we completely committed on all of our ARPA funds? There's really nothing left.
There's a little bit,
Okay,
in addition to the LATCF 6.1 million that Marin identified.
so as we approach our deadline for ARPA, we have plans to commit that, though?
Yes.
Yeah, we're not going to give them back one penny?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
I like the dynamic that, you know, the sheriff's building in Payson is old and, you know, we've talked about what to do there. I like the idea of low cost, high yield. So this is pretty low cost and it make an improvement, but long term, in my belief, long term, we need to consider what we're going to do with the sheriff's department and the jail. So thank you, Joseph. And if there's nothing else, then I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve amendment number 1 to contract agreement number CTR 061839-EZ with Skyline Builders and Restoration, Inc. is presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Oh, great. We have a motion and a second to approve. Those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Joseph. 3M, information discussion action to ratify the Board of Supervisors' approval of its chairman's signature on a grant application submitted by the Pine Strawberry Fire District to the Tonaho O'odham Nation to replace an aging wildland firefighting engine. Michael.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. So this is a grant application. Gila County and Supervisor Christensen is partnering with the Pine Strawberry Fire District to go for a grant through Tohono O'odham Nation for a wildfire fire truck, up to about $36,313. And this particular grant did require Gila County, the local Gila County Board of Supervisors signature. So that has been done. So we're coming in front of you just to ask to ratify that signature in the grant application. Ask forgiveness. I'd be happy to answer.
Right, and just to clarify, I'll ask for the supervisors, but so they came to me and said, we're going to apply for this. It would be nice if you showed support. Could you sign this application? We felt it would be most prudent to make sure that that decision was made by all of us, not just myself. I felt a little like we needed to do something. So
That is correct, sir.
Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein.
Yeah, it takes all of us to get something like that done. But no, a lot of times it's the deadlines that get you. You know, the deadlines hit, you don't have time to get in front of the board, so, no, I understand that, so.
Thanks, sir. Yeah, this is certainly, if this does happen, it's going to enhance the firefighting capabilities in the
Sure.
northern area, which is truly what we're trying to do up there. So this is
Absolutely.
a
No, that's
wonderful
good.
partnership.
That's good.
Thank you, Michael. With that, I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to ratify the Board of Supervisors' approval of the chairman's signature on the grant application submitted by the Pine Strawberry Fire District to the Tohono O'odham Nation.
And I'll second that.
Motion and a second to approve that. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you,
Thank you.
Michael. 3N, information discussion action to approve economic development agreement number 05142024 with the Tonal Basin Fire District in the amount of $6,628 to assist in the purchase of critically needed equipment, which the board has determined to be for the benefit of the public. Supervisor Humphrey, this is your item.
Yes, it is. Chief Stoltenberg is new with the tunnel, and he's doing a great job, and his funding is lacking because in rural Arizona, especially there around tunnel, the tax base is not equal to what the services are, because there's an awful lot of people that come and need help or call 911. And it's more than just the residents, because it's a recreational area. And like where up by the marina where all the trailers are, that's on Forest Service, so there's no taxes, things of that nature. So his budget is really, really small, and he's always trying to better his department. And he asked me about, they're trying to replace failing equipment or equipment that's outdated and things of that nature. So I felt compelled to help him, and for the benefit of the public, yes, very, very much so, on this equipment being beneficial to the public, because, like I say, he does do a lot of calls on people that not only live in Gila County, but the high volume of people who visit that recreational area on the weekend. And Chief came here today to kind of expand on some of the equipment that he's needing to replace. Please, Chief.
Thank you, Chairman Christensen, Supervisor Klein, and especially thank you, Mr. Humphreys, because first of all, I didn't even know this existed. I've been attending a lot of the community meetings that Supervisor Humphreys does down there in Roosevelt and Tonto Basin, and getting to know him and understand the community a lot more. This equipment is really needed. So our life expectancy on a lot of our rope rescue equipment is about 10 years. The ropes have to be replaced within 10 years. I found out that our ropes, as we're doing inventory and doing classes and trying to bring our people up to speed, we're at 9 years on the ropes. A lot of the pulleys, the extra equipment that we use is all older. It's at the 10-year mark as well. So that can be moved to a training component. The new equipment is much lighter, better made, less restriction. The ropes are smaller so that we can use this equipment and actually pack it into places that we've needed. Since I've been here, we've had 3 rescues already that we've used it on. The most recent one was back in 5 days ago, where one of the trucks repairing Highway 88 rolled off the side, went about 400 feet down. Our crews had to do a rescue of the driver about 120 feet down and fly him out from there. So we were using older equipment to do it. It's heavier. We have minimal staffing. There was 4 of us, but we were able to get the job done, to get them out safely and get them up onto the bank and treat them. Just to give you a little background on the district, if you don't know, you can stop me at any time, but we cover 48 square miles with 2 full-time personnel plus myself. We have multiple volunteers, but that is decreasing over time. When you add the Forest Service property, we cover 101 square miles with just those 2 people. And that goes all the way down 88 down to Apache Lake that we have to cover because there's no way to come up from the west side. So we're covering a lot of that. We have actually run about a dozen calls down there already in the past 12 months, which then takes our personnel out of district to provide that service. We do have a very small budget from tax revenue. We collect about $842,000 a year. FDAT this year will be about $62,000. We do run our ambulance, and the revenue on that is about $270,000 to $280,000 a year, giving us about $1.2 million to operate our fire district. This past year, since I've been in place, we have spent over $140,000 just in fleet maintenance, and that doesn't count pump testing and some other stuff that we just did already. $800,000 of that always goes to the employees, so that doesn't leave much to purchase equipment and maintain the rest of our stations and stuff. We have applied for quite a few grants this year. We did a DFFM grant, tried to get a Type 6, which we did not receive. There wasn't much money. There was not a whole lot from the state on that one. 18 departments did receive equipment around the state, though. 3 of those departments were here in Gila County, which I'm very happy to say. We've received AEDs and BLS equipment from various charities. I have also applied through Cinema and Mark Kelly to do a station rebuild at $150,000 through their congressional spending. I was just notified that we have made it past step 2, and we should expect a final hearing on that come December, January of this year. So we are pushing for a lot of stuff. Our SCBA's have to be replaced. In the next 12 to 24 months, they reach their life expectancy. We did an AFG grant for that at $332,000 just to replace 22 SCBA's. So unfortunately, it is expensive to be in the fire service, but it is something that we have to provide. Our community is growing faster than I think we're going to be able to keep up, and we're going to have to meet those challenges in different ways, and we're looking at those. So with that, any questions?
Supervisor Klein.
So Chief, thanks for being here today, and I totally understand where you're at. But have you been pursuing some of these grants like through the Tohono O'odham tribe and other ones?
So we are pursuing the smaller grants. Governor Highway Safety Grant, we're approaching them on some rescue equipment for our Hearst tools, replacement for the vehicle extrication equipment. The casinos, we're slowly applying for them, but this is the first year for a lot of them, so we don't get looked at very heavily on finding out. And then I also found out quite a few casinos, you have to be invited to come in to even grant. So you have to write an application to even be invited in to make that. So we are going through it. I work with Joel quite a bit in Pine Strawberry, so I've been working with him. The 3 newest chiefs in the area, Christopher Coles, Brad Conley, myself, and Joel, we're kind of the young guys on the block, and so we are working closely with each other, and Chief Maury Morris, who is, that guy knows the casino grants, he's been helping us a lot.
Good, because we've had a lot of pass-through dollars coming out from the casinos and other places as well. And so, you know, on your coverage down there, do you guys have any agreements with the Forest Service to cover a lot of that public land, or is all that in your district?
So we do have an agreement with the Forest Service, but they're mostly fire. I'm covering the medical side of it.
Right.
I don't receive, unless I transport, I don't receive a dime to go out there and do these. Like, that was on Forest Service property outside of my district. We just created an out-of-district billing policy that has not been approved yet. The billing rates have been approved, so I can't even bill for that rescue that we did the other day. But we are working when we respond outside of the district to start charging people for those rescues and when we don't do a transport.
Yeah.
If I do a transport, then I really can't bill because I'm billing on that side of it.
I got you. And so is this your constituent funds you're using, or?
It is.
Is it? Cool.
It is.
Well, I for one, I'm sure all of us here to help you, so.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Supervisor Klein.
Yeah, thank you. The demands on our rural fire departments are very high. So,
And they're only getting higher.
yes, yes. Thank you for that presentation. With that, I'll call for motion.
And so, Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve Economic Development Agreement number 051-42024 with the Tono Basin Fire District as presented, which the board has determined to be for the benefit of the public.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Okay, a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you
very much.
Chairman.
And Chief, if you ever need a letter from the supervisor of the district when you put in for these grants, let me know and I'll be happy to help with a letter and explain to them how you are low funded.
Yep, and you did that for the DFFM grant for us.
Yes.
So I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
See if I can make it through this one without coughing. So 3O, information discussion action to approve intergovernmental agreement number 060524 with the San Carlos Apache Tribe in the amount of $8,250 to support the 6th annual small business plan competition that supports tribal member small businesses and entrepreneurship, which the board has determined to be for the benefit of the public. Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This was brought to us from San Carlos out there. I believe this is the second annual one? Sixth? Okay. Anyway, it's been a big hit down there. They go through and teach folks what it takes to be in business, build those plans, put all that together. And so they were looking for some extra support on this. And I was happy to throw it out there and see if we could get it done, so.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Humphrey.
I have no questions.
And yet this is another item that comes from the individual constituent funds.
It does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, I have no questions. Call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve intergovernmental agreement number 060524 with the San Carlos Apache Tribe as presented, which the board has determined to be for the benefit of the public.
And I'll second that.
Motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Moving on to consent agenda items. We have items 4A through E. Supervisor Humphrey, would you like to pull one or more items off of the consent agenda item?
Nothing I care to pull.
How about you, Supervisor Klein?
No, I'm good.
Then we'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve consent agenda items 4A through 4E.
I'll second that.
Yeah, motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to call to the public. We allow this portion of the meeting to be available for public to speak. Is there anyone here in Globe? Does not look like it. Anyone in Payson?
No, sir.
And no one's on the internet. How many do we have today on the internet? 45 is an increase, isn't it? Yeah, that's almost double. That's great. I'll close item number 5 then and move on to item number 6, which is reports from the supervisor and county manager, Mr. Menlove.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you. Last Friday, attended a county managers meeting in Tubac, the Arizona County Managers, and at that meeting, there was presentations for 2 county managers that were retiring. Steve Peru from Coconino County is retiring for the second time, and they have an internal promotion from within as a deputy county manager is being promoted to county manager at Coconino County. And then La Paz County managers moved to Colorado with her husband, and so 2 new county managers coming up in 2 of our counties. Looking forward to Saturday, the Toronto Bridge ribbon cutting. I'll not go into that more, but I'm looking forward to that. The state did sine die, meaning that they concluded their session on Saturday evening about 10 o'clock. A couple of things of note for that came from that budget as it was adopted, that some of there was a cut of about $1.2 billion from last fiscal year. A lot of that funding came from about a 3.5% cut for most state agencies. And so they are looking at state budget cuts in almost all departments throughout the state. Whether that comes in salary, but salary cuts or whatever it might be, or freezing positions, it's a difficult time for the state in reducing those costs. So that was passed on. A lot of it came from delaying or cutting out transportation projects. I do not believe, and I'm still trying to study the impacts of the budget, but that the projects that have been approved for Gila County, particularly the ones from the last ADOT Transportation Board meeting where we appropriated about $5 million for the county, that those all were intact. I believe the Lion Springs widening, that is still on course for actual construction within the next year or so. I did want to point out a couple of things that are of interest to us here, that there is in the budget hazardous vegetation removal grants of $3.04 million to the State Department of Forestry and Fire Management, DFM. So there is some money available at the state for vegetation removal that we will continue to look at and being able to utilize in the county. Also, wildfire mitigation appropriates $27.02 million to DIFM for fiscal year 25 for wildfire mitigation. Those are projects to submit and to help mitigate or help try to keep fires manageable or that they not start actually. So we will continue to look for those dollars to utilize in Gila County. Coconino County has in the past utilized a lot of those dollars, but they're in there for specific projects this year. One thing of note is that the probation officers, it's been a continuous battle of the state funding, because in probation, half of the funding for our probation officers come from the county's general fund, half comes from the state. They're state-funded probation officers. State has chosen or elected not to fund the state, the probation officers that are on the state. And so they did a one-time funding in last fiscal year, in fiscal 24. They did not continue that funding into 25, and then they did not appropriate any dollars for any raises that we talked about earlier for the county employees, that they have not, the state legislature did not appropriate or extend dollars that they've given in the past. So that is something that we will have to have a discussion about, of what goes on there. The Administrative Office of the Court is telling us that they are going to move some of their money around, dollars around. We'll be able to address it. Haven't got a solution yet. Well, there's a couple things for the budget. Again, it's just passed late Saturday night as a state budget. I think with $1.2 million budget decrease for the state, they did not impact Gila County too significantly. So we are fortunate in that means. That's my report, Mr.
Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Minlove. Supervisor Humphrey.
Yeah, attended a soft opening at the Tunnel Creek Bridge yesterday, and and the reason I wanted the soft opening and the hard opening is they were finished up with construction, going to open the bridge. And if the bridge was open for a week before we do the celebration on the 22nd, I wanted to honor some people that have lived in Tono and done a lot with the creek. And George Ewing has spent a lot of trips across Tono to take groceries and children and thing across to school and back and forth. And also Mr. Conway, as you know, he's the oldest, I believe the oldest resident in Tono. And those gentlemen have fought that creek many years. And so I wanted them to be the first ones across. So when the construction company was ready to open the bridge, I wanted those gentlemen to be the first ones across. And so that's what happened yesterday. And it wasn't, for the public or be on the news or all the stuff. All that hoopla can go on the 22nd. And so I may get a left hook here and there for not presenting that more to the public. But how do you open that without it getting way open and having a flood of people? So we kind of directed everything to the 22nd. So that was a great day for that bridge to actually be turned over to the public from the construction company. And yesterday I attended a meeting where working with the fairgrounds and going forward with the fairgrounds. So a long time ago I asked Michael if he could do a work session about the fairgrounds with the Board of Supervisors. And so we met with a lot of people yesterday. Everybody had input because they have been part of the Fair and Racing Commission that had disbanded, and also to, we met with all of them to put their history to us, let us know what had been going on since the property was turned over to be a recreational property. And so that was a good meeting, and going forward, then Michael is still working, and as we go forward, gaining information, because I wanted to have the past of the fairgrounds, the structure of the fairgrounds, you know, who's doing what, what's a part of what, as we go forward to build a vision for the fairgrounds going forward. And I think in order to do that, you have to know the past and the present before you can do kind of a plan for the future. So that's what we're working on, and it was a good meeting. And I attended a animal control oath of office ceremony. And what that is animal control actually do meet with people. They do have the capability of writing citations and things. And so it was good for them to take the oath and be able to wear a badge. They are badged officers. And so I attended that. And that was kind of good to me because John Costanetta, who is head of animal control now, asked me to pin his badge on because 30 years ago, I worked as a rabies control person and I pinned him his badge 30 years ago. So that was kind of a neat deal. And anyway, I was on KQSS on June the 10th, held a Roosevelt community meeting. Also on the 10th, attended a candidate forum in Payson, attended a community partnership panel meeting, and looking forward to the ribbon cutting and the ceremony for the Tonto Creek Bridge on Saturday. It's been a blessing to be a part of the teamwork that that got together and got that bridge put up. So that'll be a great deal for Gila County and that part of Gila County for safe crossing. It turned a dangerous creek. Now it's got a bridge over it. So there's a safe crossing and also open it up for, you know, which some of the people don't like is for infrastructure. Everybody kind of likes their privacy, but I think they understand giving up some of that privacy to be able to have a safe crossing and not have incidences. And I'll know, I'll be happier come this monsoon season, and I'm sure the sheriff will as well, because if we get a major storm, we're not going to get any calls from the Tonto area because the creek has caused somebody harm. So anyway, Mr. Chair, that's all I have today.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Klein.
So on Tuesday, June 11th, I was in Flagstaff and attended an Arizona Workforce Summit. I was one of the panelists. There were 4 of us in this, and the topic was building Arizona's workforce for the future. And the discussion on it was Rooted Solutions, Advancing Forestry Practices for a Sustainable Future. It was really cool. Had a really good turnout and good questions, and I really enjoyed it. Also, that same event there, it was sponsored by the Office of Economic Opportunity, OEO. And one of the directors there was Carlos Contreras. And he's one of them that helped us get that money for our youth program from the governor. And so we had the honor visiting with him and a couple others that were there as well. But we're working with them right now on trying to come up with a day that the governor can actually come up here and visit one of those crews. And so we're hoping that we can put that together and it'll work out so they can actually get a chance to meet those kids on the ground and see what they're doing and ask them questions and whatever. I think it'd be a really good deal for the governor. The same day, that night or evening, I was at the tea party with Sadie Joe and our county attorney, Brad. And so we all 3 spoke there. It was a good turnout too. I'm not sure how many people are there, but it was full. Saturday the 15th, we're down here at the Southern Gila County Republican Party. Got to see Mark Lamb, speak a little bit to folks there, good turnout. From there, I headed back to Young, and we had another open house, meet and greet type thing with me and Sadie. And there was probably 25 to 30 people in that one as well. And good questions, good discussions. It was really good. Yesterday, we were in San Carlos and attended a groundbreaking ceremony there for their internet tower. that's going in there. It's a middle mile project. They're getting ready to run all the lines to the houses and all that, and then tie in with the White Mountains up there too as well. Good turnout there. Enjoyed seeing that and visiting with those folks. And then I've been working with APS and the Forest Service and on this power safety shutoff proposal project. And so we're going to have a day coming up pretty quick where we're actually going to be looking at a lot of the lines in the northern part up there and seeing what they can do to extend their right-of-way maintenance off those lines to where maybe we can mitigate them actually shutting power off during days like today. That's the proposals, is when the indices hit the highest, which is a 6, then they're talking about flipping the switch and shutting it down. SRP is talking the same way. And so Tonto Basin, Roosevelt, wherever the SRP lines are, would be affected. And so, but my goal is to work with APS and the Forest Service, and they seem to be working well together. The Forest Service has an interest in it because they have projects along those lines that they can't do because the right-of-ways are too narrow. And so by extending that maintenance out, they'll be able to pull their right-of-ways or their projects off, which in turn will even help the power lines and the safety of those power lines. So I'm working hard with that, and like I said, I got a meeting coming up pretty soon with them, and we're all going to look at some stuff there. Also, I'm working with Congressman Crane's staff on that Older Americans Act, and that's the act where our seniors centers get their money. That's where that money comes from, is through that act. So I'm working with them to try and see if there's some way or what the issue is, why they say it's been stagnant for about 10 years. And so I'd like to see if that's the case, and if it is, what can we do to try and maybe move that along and loosen up some more money? You know, we as a county, we throw in $165,000 to help them out with that, but by all means, they should be getting more money from the feds. And so I'm working with Congressman Crane's staff, Gaither Morton actually, to look into that and see what we can do. And with that, for now, I think that's it.
Okay, you. In the last couple of weeks, been on a couple radio stations, KRIM and KMOG. That always goes well. The State Route 260 Lion Springs project, they had a public meeting at the college up there in Payson, excuse me. Something flew down my throat, I think. Anyway, their air conditioner quit working, and there was about 200 people in this little tiny room. It was unbearable. But anyway, they did that, and so yeah, that project's over $100 million for 4 miles. So just kind of a big deal. And then also, last week, went to a little retirement potluck for Dard. He's retired now, so I think he's got plans. He's going to come in part-time, I understand, he said. And then last Friday, the Arizona Game and Fish Commission met in Payson again. I think it'd be for the 3rd time in Payson. And as most people know, we have a commissioner that lives in Payson. So that's really great for our economy. It's really great for many, many reasons. And so they invited me to speak just a few words. And so I just thank them for coming to Gila County. Gila County, just a little tiny place, and yet the commission is a very important game and fish committee. So to have them come to Gila County is a great honor. Look forward to the bridge opening. So, I mean, I know it's open right now, and I hope we got pictures of that first crossing and all of that. But during our ceremony, it'll be closed again. So I was told that the Bar X crossing will be the one to take. And I was actually thinking of the fire chief here and how much greater speed and wear and tear will be reduced a great amount by you being able to zip across that bridge rather than drive that river bottom. So this has been discussed for, I think, decades. What do? Do we build a bridge? And here it is. So it's really a great day, I think, for Gila County. And with that, that's all I have. So
Got a couple more things I forgot. I was at that meeting too on Lion Springs, and that was one miserable meeting. That was bad. But I was fortunate enough to stand in the door pretty close to a fan for a while, so. But there was a lot of people there, which was good to see.
a lot of people.
And a lot of good questions and whatnot. Also, I attended Flag Day in there in Payson, and that was a good turnout as well. A lot of people there at that. Good visit there, so thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I will point out that there's a couple people that were concerned on this expansion of Lion Springs, that as you're traveling down the highway, there's no additional turn lanes. If you're gonna turn left or right, there's no way to exit the actual moving traffic lanes according to the drawings they have. And so I hope that they provide for that. Because right now there's a center lane, you know, you can turn, you can stop. And if they don't have that stuff, it's gonna really not improve. It's gonna be pretty dangerous. So anyway, that's all I have. So if there's nothing else, then let's adjourn this meeting.